All right, let's get this started. So, hello everyone. Welcome to our Infinity Game Lab's first ever brought back launch talk, and I want to say hi to the YouTubers since this video might be uploaded to YouTube. Might, yes. So today our this launch talk is meant to be a very informal, and we can have like intimate conversation with each other. And it's titled "Menus Without Games." I know this title seems a little bit confusing, but hopefully by the end of this presentation, or not presentation, but by the end of the talk, this title will make sense to you. And here's another subtitle is called Critical View Education from the Lens of Game and Play. So here I want to tell you the guiding question I have for you throughout the entire session is, how can we apply the black magic of games to education? I mean, we all know that there are so many children, so many kids addicted, obsessed with video games, but they hate schools. So what's the black magic in video games? And maybe how can we borrow that kind of magic? So that's the question I hope I hope you can keep in mind as we go through the entire session. And I want you to know that as I prepare for this launch talk, I realized that what I wish to cover is a lot. So maybe this is just the first episode of the series. Maybe we'll have more following launch talk. But so this is the first time we'll test it out to see like how do you like it or not. All right. So the first part is to have a discussion on play and game. I mean, we use these terms a lot in our daily conversations as we do gaming, but actually many people use these two terms like interchangeably as if they're the same thing. So I feel like it's necessary to sort of distinguish between these like two concepts. I would say such discussion serves as like a prerequisites for the following discussion. So let's get started. So the first question for you is, do you like to play? And most importantly, why? Why do you like to play? I guess the first question is yes, but why do you like to play? Right? So why don't you pair yourself up and talk to your shooter partner, maybe 2 to 3 people per group, and have a mini discussion. I'll give you 1 minute, 1 to 2 minutes. Go ahead.
I've played a lot more recently.
Yeah.
So.
Are you like ready to share some of your thoughts? Go ahead.
So what we discussed was yes, we do like to play. And
who doesn't?
Yeah,
right?
One of the main ideas was just having fun, like the stress relief, and also like when you play, if you're in a group, it's everybody gets to enjoy like the idea of being in a group is fun. What else did we discuss?
So hold on, I just say 2 things. The first thing is like to relieve some stress, so feel fun. And the second is you can social with your game friends. Yes. What else?
And we also discussed how like boring games can be fun in groups. What else did we talk about?
Yeah, so it's like if you watch a very terrible movie, if you watch alone, it wouldn't be fun.
Yeah.
But if you comment on the movie with your friends together, it makes much more fun, right?
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. What else?
What do you guys discuss?
I also brought up that I like to have like different experiences that I wouldn't normally have in like games. There's a lot of unique, cool moments that happen in games that wouldn't happen in other contexts. But for the most part, it's kind of the same, like relax, and also like for the social element.
Okay, you mentioned the word relax.
Yeah.
All right, I probably want to show you something else. Okay, so most of us believe play is fun, is pleasure. Some people may think it's easy and relaxing. However, that may not be always the case. So if you look at the game Dark Souls, right? So for those who are already familiar with this game, I guess you know. So this is an entry from the Dark Souls Wikipedia. There is an entry called Death, and it says, death is an aspect of gameplay and a major part of Dark Souls and Dark Souls 2. Death, of course, that's Dark Souls 3 too.
Yeah.
That is very common and occurs very often in the game. Yeah, so for those who are familiar with the game, you will remember like you died. And then you die. Like, you can die instantly, with not even confronted by the boss, but just a regular enemy. You can die instantly. And so Dark Souls is a game of sadistic nature. It can, though not to all of us, but to me at least. It brings a lot of pain, frustration, despair to players. It can be, and also it's very demanding. I've heard that if you have never played like games like that before, it takes like many hours of learning just for survival. It's not even for thriving, it's just for survival. And it takes maybe more than 100 hours to unlock all the achievements. Well, many people actually achieve that. So if you look at the Steam records. And how popular that game is, by the end of 2015, there are 8.5 million sales of the units, and now it's already 2020. So you can see how popular that game is, right? So yeah, that's the first example I can give you to prove that maybe play is not always relaxing. And another one is, if you have heard of that game, playing, getting over it with Bandit Folly. That's a very infamous game. Anyone heard of that game before? Oh, some of you don't. Okay, I'm gonna show you, and after I show you, this meme will make sense very soon. So, yeah, this game. Do we have like the audio on?
Introducing a fresh, new range of home fragrances.
Okay, send the voice. Okay, I guess you all have to hear from this computer. I hope you don't mind.
Subscribe and without following.
Yeah.
Oh my god! Fuck! 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 Fuck!
That's a very strong reaction, right? So I'll just.
Nope.
Yeah, this is how you play the game. You basically wield this and try to get higher.
Someone told me not to cry. Nope. Hold it. My heart's cold. Shut up. Nope.
This is a monologue from the game itself. As you fail, the game will talk to you. So,
Okay, anyway.
yeah, so, the difficult part of the game is even one very, very small error you commit can result in serious consequences. You fall back to the beginning of everything, no matter how far you have tried. Well, this is lucky, it's not the beginning. But yeah, basically you can labor for 3 hours and one single arrow, you just go back to your home, like welcome home thing. So we can see like many streamers
Just give me a
rage.
successful streamer with no content. I love you, bro. I have no content.
Yeah, so he just accidentally quit the game, and I think that's it for now. But I just hope you can have a general idea of what that game is. So this is a meme with referencing to JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Like, to be continued is always the same episode. Like, you always go back to the same place. Yeah, so as we can see, Dark Souls getting over with, it seems to imply that play is relaxing, which is not always the case. And another myth we may have is play is constraint-free. Since many people believe, yeah, I can play, I can do whatever I want, because play is a word that reminds us of like little kids playing in the backyard. They can play with dirt, they can climb up the trees, they can play whatever they want, as if play is constraint-free. So if we examine Skyrim, this is a game, very popular game. Most of us have heard of it, and many players, many Dragonborns claim they can do whatever they want in the game. That might be partially true, because you can even do this. Like you can this is absurd, but this is what you actually do. You can strip a guard naked and somehow leave the helmet on. I don't know why. And then you can summon billions of cabbages and then post this character in the sea of cabbages and shoot a screenshot for him. That's what you can do. It seems like a lot of fun. We'll go back to this later. All right, so so most of us are answering what makes a game fun, right? What about what makes a game? Like previously, we have been discussing like game is like a context, right? But what makes a game?
That's a big question.
Yeah,
There's
very.
different types of games.
Well, I
agree.
feel like all games have at least have some sort of objective that you want to clear.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like a bunch of rules that you need to follow, like a bunch of things that you can't do to get to that objective, I guess.
yeah, rules can be followed or violated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if you're playing poker, you can look at somebody else's cards. Something as simple as that.
And you just mentioned that most games, at least they have intended objectives. You don't have to always follow them, but it's out there. Let's for example, there's a game called Goat Simulator. Remember that game? Yeah, it's so much fun. I mean, the game is entire bug, and watching the bugging part is the most fun part. But the first time I play Goat Simulator, I do not see any objectives. And weird enough, whatever actions I take, the game keeps rewarding me with points that I don't see to be meaningful. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, I think like every time you like do something like combos or something, you get like points, and there's no use for them at all.
Now, like, what did I just do? What's the point of that? Okay, I just kick away a bucket. So what? I just jump really high, but so what? So I would say that game is the first one that makes me wonder, like, what exactly is a game? Like, some games you have very clear rules and objectives for you to follow, but for Goat Simulator, it's more like a context, just like this room, where you can explore, you can interact with them, you can just push away this chair, you can do whatever you want, but what's the point? So I want to use this game, Mountain. Have you heard of this game? I'll show you. So what is a game, Mountain? It's a simulator game too. So in this game, you will, I'll just talk instead of showing. So in this game, your role is not the mountain. You will play as a god. So yeah, you observe this mountain from like, you can examine every angle of it. You can zoom in to look at a specific tree, like how it grows. Or you can zoom out and this mountain, like observe it from very far away places. And the mountain would talk to you. And the game has awesome like background music, so it's like a therapy. And many players say this game is like a Zen experience. Yeah, you can't do anything in the game except observing this mountain. So many people say, yeah, is this even a game or not? Like, what can we do in the game? If you say, if you believe like observing something, like observing this chair, like examining every angle of it can be a game, yeah, maybe it's a game, but is it actually a game? And we have players, and this is a player. And this is a review from a player of Mountain, and this player has so many hours of gameplay on record. It's like 60% of his life he spent on this game. So let me show you this person's review. In fact, because of the yes, because of so many hours he or she spent on this game. People keep visiting. You can see there are so many responses and comments. But yeah, let's read his review. This game makes me feel like nothing else has before. It's a surreal experience in how you never stop learning new things about this mysterious mountain, lost in a black void, which is true. Like if you zoom out really far away, it's like it's a black void. It literally is. The way you feel when you start the game for the first time, and you have to do those silly drawings. Oh yeah, you have to do some drawing before you begin the game. But I mean, people don't know like what's the point of it, because it's never referred back to again. You just draw some random pictures, and you have no clue of the implication of them later on. You see, you don't know why you drew the picture. When you figure out which keys do what and why, how satisfying it is to have your first piece of debris hit your mountain. Wow, how you get to feel when you figure out how to move that silly piece of crap. Yeah, I'll leave you to read it. All right, so let's revisit this definition we had earlier. Well, games can be described as a context of rules, space, people, materials, and valorized outcomes. I think it's out there in the game Mountain. So it is a game to me. I would say definitely today what we have been through, it makes you sort of broaden or generalize the concept of a game and play. So you can view this world from a new perspective. You can see anything as a game. You can always create your own game, create your own set of rules. All right, so any questions so far about the concept, game, and play? Okay, good. And now let's talk about play outside the game. This is my expertise. Today we won't fully walk through this part, but we'll continue next time. But we'll touch upon it. So for those who are familiar with Skyrim, there are a lot of things you can do within the game, but outside the game you can do a lot of things too. So to list a few things that I am familiar with, you can write fan fictions and draw fan arts. I guess you're familiar with that. As for fan fiction, I want to show you. Oh, sorry. This is my. How do I click this off? Okay, good. Somebody. It's okay. Yeah, it's in Chinese. It's okay. That's not. I don't want you to read it. So this is a Skyrim forum that I have been heavily involved in for like 7 years. As you can see how long this story is. This is how long a page is. It's super long. Yes, that's fan fiction. So I write stories based on the world setting, and I borrow NPCs from the game, and I develop their character. And fan arts, I guess you're familiar with that, so I won't explain. And as for modding, I would say modding, I think modding is what keeps Skyrim alive. It's a very, very old game, but because players constantly create new stuff for it, so the game is always new. You can always download new stuff and make your Skyrim a new one. So there's one kind of modding that's my expertise. It's called face sculpturing. I'll show you a picture. So this is what the game allows you. By default, it gives you face like this. And as a face sculpturist, I keep modding my character, and this is the character I create. You will wonder, like, is this even the same game? Well, with modding, that's what you can do. And yes, you can create any faces you want. You can even create yourself in the game if your face sculpturing techniques is powerful enough, but it really takes years of practicing. That's my case. So that's me, a face sculpturist. And also there is lore. So what is lore? So in Skyrim, the game world of Skyrim has its own history, has its own religion. So and there are thousands or even maybe thousands of books in that game. And for the players who are interested in the history of Skyrim, they read every single book in that game, and then they try to figure out like what's the world views of the common people, what's the religion out there. So they learn the world of Skyrim as if they are real historians in our reality world. That's many of my friends are doing. I mean, lore is not my strength. I really suck at lore, but I know many people they are fascinated about lore. And also, of course, people share their gameplay strategies, like how do you level up faster, how do you defeat a very difficult boss when you are in level 1, something like that, or how can you get the godlike item at the early stage of the game, blah, blah, blah. And some people do animation. It's not even based on the game, I think. So it's, oops. Oh, come on. So they create like.
How about that?
Oops.
Okay, so freedom of religion.
Yes. No.
Racial equality.
Yes. You define equality.
Okay. What about gay marriage?
Well,
Yes.
of course.
Kind of a silly question.
I agree.
Why would you even ask that?
I mean, who would want to live in a miserable marriage?
Okay, so people make animation like this. Oops. Okay. By the way, give you some background information. The player is trying to decide like which side of the civil war they want to join, and since both sides are recruiting soldiers, so they ask them questions. This is not part of the game. It's like I would say it's development of the author of the video. But yeah, people do make animation based on this IP. Oh, and also the next thing is people can create screenshots, and then by assembling these screenshots together, they create stories. Here is a very good friend of mine, and he has been playing like doing this for years. I'll show you his work. Okay, it's in Chinese, but it doesn't matter. You can just see like how he tried to like create stories based on the screenshot and assemble them together. See, that's how beautiful what kind of beautiful like screenshots you can create in the game. Yeah, and it's super long, so you can subtitle the screenshots you created and make it a story. So you are like a director, right? Isn't that wonderful? That's what the game can afford. Like if you get tired of the game itself, you can create stories based on it. It's sort of like fan fiction writing, but more like multimodal. Okay, finally. Let's look at a video by James Paul G on learning with video games. I need to bridge this part. So we have just discussed like what people can do, not just inside the game, but also outside the game when people go to places where other players of the same game gather. And this is part of James G's argument. And here's a video. Before I play the video, I want you to think, based on the video, discuss how do you think video games may change the world or empower us or transform education. I'll play the video. That's the end of today's talk, but we will continue our discussion next time. All right, so I'll play.
Digital media, video games in particular, work just like we know books work. Now, it's all the stuff that you know about literacy is true of digital media.
Oh, by the way, he's the person who found us.
One thing that a lot of people who are not into games are not aware of is that today, in the way that people game socially, is the game is not the only thing at stake. Right, and if you're going to contemplate the possible use of games or digital media for learning about learning, you really have to say, wait a minute, don't just look at the game. There's more going on. Now, so I'm going to show you what it is. All right, this is World of Warcraft, 15 million players. This is the most played multiplayer game now in the world. It's a role-playing game that has some interesting properties. Role-playing means you have to play this with other people. You don't have to, but you do play this with other people. The basic unit is 5 people. Now, in each of the 5 people, each one has to have a deep skill set, which they have chosen to specialize in those skills. And it has to be different than the other 4. So you cannot bring in the so-called dungeons, that is where you're going to go play and do challenges and fight. You can't bring in 5 people with the same skill set. The problems are designed that they're hard, and they can only be solved if you integrate 5 different skill sets. See, so I was a priest, a healer. You bring in 5 priests to a dungeon, and you die in 2 seconds. Right? The idea, first of all, is each person must be deeply skilled in one skill set, but has to understand the big picture so they can integrate their skill set with the very different skill sets of the other people. Now, why is this interesting? Because in the world of high-tech work, this is called a cross-functional team. If you go look at the new capitalism and high-tech workplaces, they're almost all organized in cross-functional teams, which means every member of the team has to be an absolute expert, but able to understand everybody else's role so they can integrate with it, and even replace them if they're wrong. Now, in work, this is considered extremely high stress. Then you go home to play World of Warcraft to do it again. Portal is a game where you use a portal gun to make an orange or blue portal, and if you go in one, you come out the other, and they obey a whole bunch of the laws of physics for this world, its own physical laws. So this is a game that is essentially playing with a certain physics, and it's very interesting problem solving, and it's a lot of fun. And people could say, well, surely this is good for tacit understanding, kind of an embodied understanding, but it doesn't mean you can say any physics, right? And as educators say, well, you can't articulate your physics, so what good is it? Well, those people are missing that games today are only half the picture. Because what happens in any game that people get passionate about is they play the game and then they get interested in going on an internet site, which I will call an affinity space.
Fandoms of the game.
And discussing that game, modifying the game, researching it, and explicating everything about it. Right? And so you get stuff, the first Portal, like this. This is a group of people who play Portal who decided to make a wiki to explicate all the physics in it. There are links, like in Momentum, to actual physical definitions and physics textbooks and physics articles. So now you see, whoa, there far from there being no articulation in language of the knowledge being developed in the game, there's a whole community devoted to doing just that. These games give rise to these people that get on the internet and begin to use quite technical, specialist language, like you just saw, right? That is not vernacular English, right? You wouldn't talk that way at the dinner table. It's what people call academic language, or what I will call specialist language. Now, this is the only piece of true gobbledygook I have in this talk. And it's sad, but this is the way psychologists write. It's why they don't have friends. But yet the point is just really crucial. What this is from a body of research that's now about 20 years old that shows that when human beings understand anything, whether it's a text or the world, they understand it not by abstract generalities, but by literally being able to run in their head a simulation of images and actions and experiences that the words refer to. And it turns out, and every teacher here is going to say, I could have told you that. When a human being is doing that, is when they are thinking, because they have to get ready to take an action that they want to take, and they want that action to succeed, they think really well. But when you ask them to think about stuff, but there's no action they're going to take, and they don't really care what the outcome is, they think very poorly. You see, in American law, there's a very interesting legal principle that is completely wrong called opportunity to learn. Courts have ruled 2 kids had the same opportunity to learn if they got the same book. But in fact, I'm saying that if one kid has 10,000 hours of experience with the stuff the book's about, like 10,000 hours of playing Portal, that's what the language is about, that kid has a much better opportunity to learn than the kid that has 14 minutes or seconds. Right? That opportunity to learn is not the book. It's whether you can bring experience to the book. When I first started to play video games, I was brand new, I was in my 50s, and I was shocked at how hard they were. And like any good baby boomer, I said, okay, I can handle this. I'll read the manual first. And I sat down to read this little 20-page book. And the 20-page book had 199 bolded headings, each cross-referenced to the other 198. There were technical definitions. But I did what every kid would do. I went and played the game for hours, terribly. And then the weirdest thing happened to me. I picked this book up right there, and I could no longer recover why that wasn't crystal clear. I couldn't even recover it anymore. Because I had seen in the game an image, an action, an experience, a goal, a dialogue that fit those words. See, these words are about a world. And if you haven't lived in that world and you can't see it in your mind, these are just words. You can look them up in a dictionary, which is completely useless. And it struck me at that day that the key problem of our schools, more now with No Child Left Behind, is it's full of manuals without the games. We have handed kids all the manuals without the games. And imagine, now if you did that to gamers, there'd be a revolution. There isn't any such thing as technical hard language. There's only language you don't know because you didn't live in its world, you didn't play its game. Therefore, in theory, we could level the playing field for the first time in American education if we brought the games to the manuals. And I don't mean a video game. If we brought the activities, the problem solving, the living in the worlds of chemistry and algebra, with making kids want to do things with them. That is to see them as tools to surmise new possibilities. That's the game. And if we brought those to school, they'd like it as well as Portal.
Menus without game. This is one of my favorite metaphor for educational issues. So yeah, that's the end of our Brown Bag Lunch Talk. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time.